Welcome to Second Wind with Joyce Buford, a program for and about women. Joyce Buford is a certified coach who has a passion for helping women who need a second wind. Joyce is the creator of Uncover Your Hidden Genius, a program that will help you live a life of greater purpose, fulfillment, and ease. As a certified coach, she studied directly with her mentor, Jack Canfield, author of the Chicken Soup book series, where she served as an assistant to his training program. Through her study with many prestigious coaches and mentors, she has created a powerful program that has positively impacted hundreds of people. On today's program, Joyce and her guest will help you learn how to get your second wind. Now here's our host, Joyce Buford.
Good morning and welcome to Second Wind. This is the place that you will be finding clarity about who you are, confidence about tomorrow, and courage to take the steps to get you there. I love sharing this message with you. I created this when I went through my divorce almost 20 years ago. I wanted something, a tool to help those people that are making a huge transition in their life to find what they need to make that transformation easier, less painful. And I thought, and I believe, hearing guests such as I have today share her message is one of the keys to giving you clarity, confidence, and courage. So let me tell you about our guest today because I'm so excited. Have you ever walked into a room or, as it was for me, read about somebody and really, really like the person? Well, you walk into a room, you pick somebody out of all those people to go over and talk to, and there's a connection. Well, that is sort of the way it went today with my guest. Our guest today is Liz Goll Lerner. Now, Liz is a counselor, a psychotherapist, coach, and speaker with 30-plus years of experience, helping women heal, take action, and transform their lives. She is nationally recognized as an innovator in the personal growth field for her groundbreaking integrative, I'm having little English problems today, integrative healing programs. Now, she's a sought-after speaker, as I said, and her subject matter is Liz has been featured on ABC TV, Block Talk Radio, and her program, The Healing Journey, is published in Facing Death, Art Therapy, and Cancer Care. She is also one of Psychologist Today's verified therapist. So it's with a great, big, open, wide arms that I welcome Liz to the show today. Thank you, Liz. Welcome.
Well, thank you so much for having me on this show, Joyce. It's a wonderful, wonderful show.
Oh, thank you. Well, you know, we all go through transitions, no matter who we are. It's just part of life. But some seem to be bigger. They seem to be more dramatic in our life, and they really stop us. So how would you start telling somebody about the importance of discovering who they are and where they want to go and what they want to be? How did you get on this journey?
Oh, my. Well, you know.
Hello.
So, two different questions. The first,
I know they are, aren't they? I'm sorry.
Yeah, so I'm gonna try and answer both. So,
okay.
You know, when you said when we go through these major life shifts, they really become pivotal to us, and sometimes we feel like, you know, we just don't know who we are, what to do next, But really, the thing that's pushing us to make whatever change this is, or the situation that's shown up, is kind of a gift of letting us know who we are and where we are if we really kind of tune into it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that makes any sense. But
it does.
But it kind of highlights, well, what's really going on in life, in my life today, and was I really happy with it, or what was I really striving for, or why do I feel one way about this when I think I should be feeling another? And those are really great questions. So when you say kind of how did you get going in this, I think that I've always questioned things like that in my whole life. But I think there was a time early on in my career when I was really, really, really career focused, and I had found a wonderful place to live in the Northwest and in Seattle, and there were no art therapists in Seattle at that time. There was one who was not really working in the field, and it was a very new field, and I was trying to find my way and pioneer this profession in this city. And I found that I ended up finding a maternity leave position in another city in Chicago, and that gave me everything I needed except where I really wanted to live. And I moved for that position, and then all of a sudden it turned real. The person decided to be with her baby instead of coming back to work, and I did the big move, and suddenly I realized that I had chosen my profession over me, and that was a big turning point. That was a big turning point for me.
Right. What do you mean you chose your profession over you? Is that part of our journey to discover who we are?
I think
the importance of
what I'm getting at actually is the idea that sometimes we forget what might be the most important. So, I loved my, that beginning years. I loved those years. I learned a lot. I was working hard, but I had really left a place that felt like home to me, even though I had just discovered it. And so I was really trying to figure out, well, how do I bring me into this completely professional decision? So the me was certainly a part of that professional decision. Like, I had worked years for that. But I really felt like there was some kind of disconnection that I was doing, which actually, when I really discovered that, it really led me to the big aha. Which was who am I really listening to in my head? Like, what am I deciding is really important, and why am I making those decisions, and how do I make that really, really be my whole entire voice instead of just a piece?
That's really that we're all challenged with that, I think. We want one thing, and yet sometimes it's in contradiction to where we want to live, as you said, or what we like to spend our time doing. Or
who we want to be with.
Right. Yes. Well, when we were visiting yesterday, we spoke briefly about bringing the audience into the present moment. And so I'm wondering if this might be a great time, before we get further into this wonderful conversation that we're going to have today, that we do that to help them get present.
I think that would be awesome. And if it works for you, I'd just like to say a couple of things about why we want to be there.
Good. Yes.
Why we want to be in the present moment. We spend so much time these days multitasking, looking at our phones while we're listening to someone who's really sitting right in front of us, or trying to do many, many things at once. And a lot of times that means that we're not really here. We're not really visiting with the person we're visiting with, or we're not really listening to the show, or we're not really enjoying just walking in the woods. And when we're in the present moment, we actually get to have more choices about how we feel about where we are in that moment. Like, for example, we could be talking to one person, but worrying about the thing we have to do next. And then we're not in either place, really. So let's just take a moment to do a really quick way to kind of get into the body. And all we have to do, if you're sitting or standing, it doesn't matter either way. We want to take a nice, deep, cleansing breath. So just breathing in with your nose and out with your mouth. And with each breath, and they can be normal breaths, just breathe in and put your attention to your feet. So we don't often think about our feet, but I'd like you to put your attention just to feeling your feet and feeling the floor supporting your feet. Really feeling the weight of your feet being supported by the floor. And notice the feeling in your feet as you feel the weight. And feel the connection to the floor. It's almost like there's a gluey substance that's connecting our feet to the floor, and the floor is supporting our entire weight. And breathe in and breathe energy actually from the earth up through your feet, up through your legs, up through your torso, up through your shoulders and arms and neck and head, and up the top and out the top of your head. If you're sitting in a chair, feel the chair supporting the bottom of your legs and your bottom so that your body is entirely supported. Take a deep breath. Breathe in with your nose, out with your mouth, and put your attention in your chest area, in your heart center. And just take another beautiful cleansing breath. Breathe in and exhale through your mouth and feel your body. And notice if there's any difference. Notice if you feel a little bit more in there. Joyce, how does it feel to you?
Oh, my goodness. This feels great.
Right. So tell me what's great about it. Like, what do you feel different about from, the time you started putting your attention in your feet?
Well, there was definitely a shift in energy or weight with my feet to the floor. I loved that because it was almost like I was grounded. It gave me grounding,
Exactly.
And so as it moved up my body, then that grounding continued up. Now, when you took me into the heart, it was like you opened up the heart to receive the grounding. Does that make sense?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and people will feel it differently. Some people may feel a tingle. A lot of people feel heaviness in the feet or kind of a warm sensation. Everybody feels it a little bit differently, so there's no right or wrong.
Yeah.
But what you're talking about, Joyce, is actually the key. Because when we actually bring ourselves back into our bodies, we're actually present in our lives.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because we spend a lot of time. There's so much technology. There's so many thoughts about, we're thinking. And a lot of times it feels like we just have stuff swimming around our heads.
Mm-hmm.
But when we take a breath and when we really come in, we get to really, when you do that and you kind of look around the room you're in, sometimes you really see things a little bit differently.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Great exercise. Right.
So anytime anybody feels a little tense or feels like they're thinking too much about, the holidays or what they have to do, get into the body and make a decision about that next action, because that's what's going to decrease all that tension and stress.
Mm. Well, that was very perfect because we had a little stress getting on the air today. So I'm back in my body here.
Oh, I love
it.
Is perfect. I love it. So we actually served a purpose.
We really did.
As well as anyone listening.
Now, I know because we have been sold all of our life. As a mother, wife, at an earlier part in my life, we were sold on, and I almost wore it like a badge of honor, that I could multitask. I could toss with one hand, rock the baby with the other, and do all this other stuff.
Right.
We definitely think it's an honor that we can do multi things at one time, but it fractures us, I think, and this is a perfect example of how it gives us energy and gives us grounding so that we can make good decisions. I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
And
yeah.
You're welcome. And, multitasking, sometimes is something we have to do, right? Like if you have a little baby and you there are many, many things that you're going to need to be doing at once.
Right.
But the point is that we do them in our bodies instead of floating around outside of our heads, so that we're actually feeling better when we're doing them, and also that we are, as you said, able to come in and make a different decision, come into really be in ourselves, and make choices not to multitask when we can, because we're going to get it all done. And actually, a lot of times when we're worried about what's coming next, or if we're doing something the right way, or whatever, we're slowing ourselves down. We're not really attending to the task in the same way we would if we were just like, okay, here I am, I'm doing it.
Yeah. It would seem like your decision making would be much improved also because
yes,
of this exercise.
Because you have choice.
Yeah. You're taking responsibility. Now, you've mentioned something that I would like to talk a little more about. Who's doing the talking in your head? A question to ask ourselves. What do you mean by that? I would think it's me.
So, say it again. I'm sorry.
I would say, oh, well, it's me. I'm doing the talking. So,
yes. Yeah, so let me go back to that moment in time for myself where I kind of realized that actually I thought it was me too. So I was having a walk with a dear friend who I worked with at the time, and I was complaining about this and that, and, really kind of sort of coming down on myself and, my situation and blah, blah, blah. Even though it was, wonderful in one level, I wasn't feeling too happy. And he said, who's actually speaking in your head? And I looked at him like he was nuts.
Yeah.
Just like you said, I thought, well, who do you mean who's talking in my head? I'm talking in my head.
Yeah.
And he said, well, it just doesn't sound like some of the things you're saying are actually coming from the you that I know. And I thought, well, that sounds kind of interesting. Like, what do you mean by that? And he said, well, all that judgment or all that should, like, do you really believe all of that? Like, do you honestly believe it? It sounds like you believe it. It's making you unhappy. But where does it come from? And I had to really, it was sort of this groundbreaking, earth-shattering moment, because I thought, well, now it's all in my head, so I believe it's me, but what he's saying makes a little bit of sense. Like, where did it actually come from?
Yeah.
So I started to really think about, well, who said I had to be the best in my field? Or who said I had to, be married by X date, at X age? Or who said that, giving to everyone was the most important thing, right? Like all of these kind of things, sometimes it's society that says something to us. Sometimes it's a parent who has said something throughout our lives that kind of stuck and it becomes a part of us. Sometimes it's a good friend or a magazine article or who knows, or, media in some other way that kind of influences how we think we should look, what we think we should eat, how we think we should work, what our relationships should look like, all these different things. And often, if we really evaluate it, some of that might be important to us and some of it might not.
Right.
Or some of it might be a message that somebody taught us long ago when we were children that made sense at the time, but doesn't really make sense anymore. Right. And we kind of we just took it as you said, I think it's my voice. I think it's me saying all those things. And it is ourselves, but is it our true selves? Like, do we really have to, I'm trying to come up with some silly example, but I don't know, Joyce, what's an example for you that, you felt like now that you're hearing kind of what I mean by that, might have shown up in your life, like something you thought was really, really important, but really turned out not to be as important to you, your own self, as you really thought it would be?
Let me think about that. Well, definitely I'd have to say, this may be bigger than you want, and it may, but divorce,
go for it.
Going through divorce, there was a definite, and there is a definite ongoing message that you must be complete. You must be married to be complete. I bought into that and relinquished myself to that. And then one day I realized I can't do this. I'm not myself.
Right.
And so that made my change.
It was an idea and an ideal, right? That we have been taught, in our culture. It seems to be shifting now, but, we have been taught you have to have a partner. You have to, long ago it was you have to be married. Divorce is bad. Don't do X, do Y. And it doesn't leave a lot of room often to be able to have the opportunity to do what you did, which was to say, wait a minute, there's something off here. I'm giving myself up to be something or someone that doesn't feel right to me. I'm giving up.
Yeah.
I'm giving up my right to express myself.
Yeah. Liz, I'm going to have to stop here because they're taking me away to, we'll be back shortly.
Transformational coach, motivational speaker, and author Joyce Buford returns after this short break.
Would you like to know how to bring more ease to all the decisions you need to make in life? Knowing your core values is the first step in Joyce's free live masterclass. You'll discover your top 5 core values in as little as 45 minutes. Join her now at freegiftfromjoyce.com. Close your eyes and imagine living your life without limits. Where would you go? Who would you meet? What would you do? During an Uncover Your Hidden Genius session, you will discover what's keeping you from living your life with purpose, passion, and fulfillment of your potential. You'll get a clear vision of the steps you need to take to uncover your hidden genius so that you can live a life without limits. Sessions can be done over the phone, Skype, or in person. Find out more at www.joycebufordempowers.com or by calling 903-287-0747.
Welcome back to this segment of Second Wind. Joyce Buford, the creator of Uncover Your Hidden Genius, continues in this segment to share insight that will help you live a life of greater purpose, fulfillment, and ease. Now here's our host, author and coach, Joyce Buford.
We are visiting today with Liz Lerner, who is a therapist and a coach and a speaker. And she's awesome. I mean, just in the moment with her, we did the grounding exercise. And her question, who's doing the talking in your head, is just so powerful. And we do not realize that that voice that's in our head didn't start in our head. It came from someone, some other person, some beliefs maybe that we had. It's just so beneficial to us to realize and to take those steps to understand. And you may want to go further with this to understand who's really talking in your head. Now, one of the things that we've also... Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Liz.
Now, I just want to clarify one thing, which is that, our voice, our own voice, is certainly one of the strongest voices in our head. And these other parts are just messages that we've acquired. And so it's just about figuring out what's the real you and what's the other pieces that we might be doing things or thinking things that don't really align with who we are.
Yeah.
Does that make sense, Joyce?
Yes. I like to, a lot of people would like to blame it on mom or blame it on dad. And so I'm thinking of those as being voices we hear in our head. But are you saying that's really, we've learned the message through mom or dad, perhaps. They're one of our sources. Yeah. But it's really our voice now that we're listening to.
Well, I didn't mean to make it more confusing. I think you're right on the first part. In other words, like people absorb messages. And yes, sometimes it is mom and sometimes it is dad, and we can, there's lots of blame that happens, but this is more about discerning if it was a message from outside. Mm-hmm. Is it a message we want? Is it a message that really works for us?
Yeah.
Is it something that's causing us pain? And if it is, why? Or is it something that really supports us and helps us move forward in our dreams? And I think that for me, one of the biggest ahas was recognizing that one of the voices I was hearing happened to be my mother's voice about what what a profession should look like or what it should be. And then I had to say, oh, well, that was her idea. That was her wisdom, and I need to see what my wisdom is. Right? Does that work for me, or is that not really? I'm not on the right track there. So it's sometimes it will be a combination, but it's good to know where something's coming from.
We often, I'm looking at let me see how I want to say this. In connecting with I'm feminine in my body, okay, but we also carry with us some masculine qualities or energy. And so how do we handle that, or are we surprised by that? Some people will say, I'm totally feminine. And so when we pose that we do carry both, well, how can we identify when we're in masculine versus when we're acting in feminine? Does that energies? Did I pose that question clear enough?
I can work with that.
Okay, thank you.
I used to and probably will again soon run a program called the Group for Women About Life. And one of the pieces of that program that was so important was identifying that we do have different parts of ourselves, and that, sort of the archetypal parts, like the mother, the friend, I'm getting off track here, so I'm not going to do that. But what was important in your question that made me think of that program is that every person has masculine and feminine energies within them. It just is, whether you're a man or a woman. And what that means is sort of a more, both now are very powerful energies. And so it's not like when I'm going to use a couple of words here, I don't want people to get confused and say, oh, she's saying that feminine energy is weak, or I'm not saying that at all. Feminine energy is, as we know, very powerful. But some think of it as receptive and active. Some think of it as inward or outward. But frankly, it's really, we want to have this balance and combination of all things, because you cannot be active in the world unless you take in that which helps you be active, that gives you information. So feminine energy and masculine energy sometimes gets confused with being men or women. And, and that's not really the case. I think where it gets tricky, or used to get tricky, when I created this program, which is one of the reasons I created it, many, many years ago, was that it was when women were certainly moving more and more steadily into the workforce. It was as if they felt like they had to take on a different persona.
Oh, yeah.
Be a man, or man-ish, to be accepted or do a good job or whatever, including how we dress.
Yes.
And there were lots and lots of articles written and people really beginning to understand that it's, you have your own sense of, women have their own sense of how they're going to be powerful in the world. It doesn't have to look like how a man might be powerful in the world. Men have their ways of being powerful in the world. And there's this sort of combination and balance of energy that, there are times we need more masculine energy. There are times we need more feminine energy. And we want to kind of, if you could see me, I'm kind of moving my hands.
You're directing.
Kind of directing or like kind of circular, that we just like anything else in our lives, we want to use what we need to use at the given moment to be the most successful in what we're doing, whether it's being a parent or being in the workforce or being a cook or, what all the things we do in life. We want to be in balance so that we can bring it, right? We can bring our best selves so we have the most fun.
Right.
Does that answer your question a bit?
Yes. Back in the 70s, when I started working for IBM, I saw a lot of very powerful women, and they would express their power through almost a bullish energy, if you will. And I mean, it was sort of like break the dish, or they'd just be so. I was going to use another word, but I decided not to.
Yeah.
They were just
the B word.
Yes. And it was so prevalent in the business world at that time that it was scary because I couldn't identify. I mean, I never knew when I'd go in to talk to a woman manager in what role she would be interacting in. It was just really quite an interesting time. So I was very much into that transition. I believe that it has calmed some. We've found ourselves a bit.
Yes. Yeah. The thing that's, interesting about all this, and this is a kind of a longer conversation, I think, but so back then when I was running that program, I did it through archetypes. I did it through goddess archetypes. And, in those archetypes, in Athena and Aphrodite and Hera and Artemis, there are all these balances of, which one is really out, who is a warrior and what does that mean in our culture now? Who's the mother and what does that mean in our culture now? Et cetera, et cetera. And what the point of this program was is that we need every single piece to be fully integrated and alive and functioning in a way that really makes our life flow. Right. And I think what we're seeing kind of in our culture today is, yes, there was a big, there was that big wave of women feeling like they had to be what you described, and then it kind of balanced out, and people could really understand that they could be in their feminine power and not be hard and cold, only strategic. And then now, as we see with the elections, it's very interesting to listen to the women who are running for office saying, or being in the government, oh, hey, like, I'm going to be classified this way if I do this. I'm going to be classified this way if I do that. And there's not, it doesn't feel at the moment like there's a lot of room to be seen as balanced. And so the work is very difficult for the women who are stepping up to find a way to do that in a way that isn't criticized. And so that just makes it more important to really know who you are and be in your body and be present in the moment, because, we want to live life to our fullest and serve as best we can, like for those women serving many of us. And but even if it's just, serving your own home, and I don't mean serving in a how do you say it? Like a subservient way. Yes. I mean just being the best that we can be, which might sound like a big challenge. So I don't want it to sound so hard. I think that what I'm really talking about is just, when you feel joy, that's the ticket. Right. That makes, if you can feel happy in the moment, it helps your next moment, or even neutral. Right. So we're not aiming for the big, I'm going to be the perfect blah, blah, blah. That's not what I'm talking about. Right. Yeah. There's purpose for every person, and the purpose is adapted to who she is. In other words, I'm trying to say that if someone
gets joy from being the mother and the running the beautiful home and taking the children, then she's on purpose. She found her purpose.
Exactly. That's
and
right.
she can be proud of that.
But it also doesn't put her in a box.
Yes. Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Just like if someone loves their profession, I think where people get out of balance, and what my work is really about, hopefully helping people come into balance and understand the different parts of themselves so they can be working together.
Right.
Just like if someone's in a professional world, it doesn't mean they're not a fabulous mother either.
Yeah. Right.
Like they don't have to get, people don't have to get boxed into whatever they've defined themselves in.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, as you all can tell, Liz and I could just keep going and keep going and keep going. But I really want to share with my listeners out there how they could find Liz on the internet. And so you need to go to her website because you are going to love to see her areas of expertise that she's highlighted on her website. So, Liz, will you please tell us how they can find you on the website and the other social media that you can?
Absolutely. So I'm excited to do that. And I also want to let people know I'm going to be sending out an email to my list pretty soon this week about kind of the exercise we did, but taking it even further. And if I can get it together, and I'm not promising this, you'll see it in the email if you sign up, I might do a Facebook Live on it at the end of the week. So we'll see. Not sure about that one yet. But the spelling of my company, it's called Your Inspired Choices. So that's YOURIN, S as in Sam, P as in Peter, IRED as in dog, choices.com. YourInspiredChoices.com. At the very top right of the website, there is a free offer of a guided meditation that if you click on, you'll get that meditation in your inbox, but you do have to put in your name and your email. You'd end up on my list. I hope you would love that because I'd love to share lots of things with you. And another quick way is to go to B as in boy, it.ly/secondwindpodcast.com. You won't see the website that way. You'll just go to the sign-in page or the sign-in thing. So I would love you to go to yourinspiredchoices.com so you can see all the things that are happening. And Joyce, may I give my office phone number in case anyone wants to get in touch that way?
Oh, yeah, please do. Yeah,
that would be 202-827-3448. And if you want to find me on Facebook, you can go to Liz Goll Lerner, Your Inspired Choices, and that should pop up. I'm going to try it right now. So, Joyce, is there any other piece of it? I'm also on LinkedIn and all those other things.
And Twitter.
If you go to psychologytoday.com, you can find my profile by Liz Goll Lerner. So,
oh, yes.
And that's Lerner.
Awesome. Yes. Would you do the Facebook one more time, Liz? How do they find you on Facebook?
Yeah, I'm going to just check and make sure that I'm doing it right.
I have a different for Facebook.
What do you have?
Facebook.com/inspired choices.
Does it work?
I haven't tried it.
Facebook.com
/inspired choices.
Yep, that'll work.
Oh, good. So try Facebook.com/inspired choices to get to her Facebook. Yeah. Perfect.
I think so.
Yeah.
It's hard because I'm the owner, so it's not letting me do it, go in properly.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
but
Liz,
you can also try just keep asking me, Joyce, and I'm going to see if I can figure this out.
Okay.
What else would you like to talk about while we have another minute?
Now, if you wanted to send a message to Liz, you want to talk to her through email, that would be Liz, Liz, at yourinspiredchoices.com. So you have a question about working with her, where she speaks, anything like that, then, of course, and if you have questions about her courses, I do encourage you to go to her website first to see what she offers. My heart resonates, of course, with her Divorce Well, which, I just think coming at divorce so positively, making it as we go through that process that we go through well. So it takes away the sadness of the fire, but it's done well, so we can appreciate that we're making this journey easier. Anyway, I was really drawn to that, Liz. I love the way you worded that, Divorce Well.
Well, thank you. Yeah. And, on the site, there are 1-minute videos on each of the things. So if you click on something, you may find a video that, gives you a quick download. Also on Facebook, if they go to your space, Inspired Space Choices, they'll find me. It just pops up, Liz Goll Lerner, Your Inspired Choices. Yeah, and they can click on it. Let me just see if what happens then. Yeah, it goes right to my Facebook page. So that's another way you can message me on Facebook. And about the divorce thing, I think what's so important is people get so worried and so reactive when something big like that is going on, especially at the ending or the changing of a relationship that is so important. And my work is really about how do you not get reactive? How do you create a vision for what you want and actually be able to pull it off? And that might be, just not fighting or collaborating on what happens next, particularly if you have children, or how do you actually feel about it, and what do you want to do? How do you want to create the next part? And by understanding that, making this transition much simpler and easier.
Right.
Doing it with grace, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. Right. You say in your material, divorce well and thrive. I like that a lot. Mm-hmm. And then it's a different approach. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
So, Liz, we're coming to the end of this hour. I can't believe it. It's flown by for me. And I hope
for me too.
Flown. Yeah. So, what is in the future? Are you? What are you doing that you're really excited about now? Are there things changing? There's always something changing.
Yeah. So, thank you for asking that question. Actually, I am in the last stages of creating a fabulous program called Luminous Living. And it will be both an online coaching program and with a live component, as well as, depending on where you live, a live program. It is, there's also private coaching on that as well. But the program really looks at what we've been talking about today. How do we know what these amazing parts of ourselves are, and how do we help make choices in our present moment so that we're not like getting our brains aren't getting blasted by some part that feels a little unhappy. We know how to help that part. We know how to get everybody together and live truly aligned with our true purpose and have a very joyful life. So that program I'm super excited about because it's taking that whole piece in a whole new direction that I think is right for the planet at this time, where we've got lots of energy supporting us and lots of ways to communicate. So I'm excited.
To be notified, for the listeners to be notified about when this begins, when it starts, they would sign into your website. Is that where they get the message?
Yeah, they have to get on that list. They
okay.
want to get on that list, that email list, and then they will know for sure. Yeah. There'll be a webinar coming up soon, particularly for people who are going through divorce. I know that's one of your, special topics. And the course, I also do a Divorce Well and Thrive coaching program. So for those people who are really listening to you for that, that's another thing that's ongoing.
Oh, great. Sounds wonderful. Now, you'll also notice she does workshops and retreats, and I'm trying to entice her into re-erecting a retreat that she has offered on her website. So stay tuned.
Yeah. Anybody want to go to France?
Oh, I do.
Learn about the goddess? Go to France.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's a really fun retreat. I know Joyce is interested in that one. And Joyce, you inspired me. You inspired me yesterday.
Oh, good.
You did. Yep. Thinking about putting that back on the docket for not too far from now. Yep.
Well, for those out there that are listening, I think it's important that you go to a place totally takes you out of. It does not have to be France. But for me, that would be the whipped cream on top of the event of working with Liz, is that you would be in this space. And so, anyway, I'm really encouraging her. So if any of you want to join this trip, stay tuned.
Well, and the other
be sure
thing about any of these trips that I run, the reason to do it is that it's in the time that we're there each day, we do have a workshop time. But what's important, I believe, for any kind of change is that you have to embody it. So we go and we actually walk the walk that day of that part that we have really learned about so much and have a great time while we're doing it. So I love it. That's the point.
That's the point. Well, Liz, we are at the end. We are so close to the end that it's scary. But thank you so much for being so open and welcoming. You're sharing with us just your fabulous work. And I look forward to maybe having you back so we can talk more about certain things. Certainly when you do the program. Yeah, thank you.
Yes.
And
thank you.
Yes. So, dear listeners, as you know, this is coming to the close of the year. And so I hope that you will say the blessings of how you have had a wonderful year, even if it was not the year you had planned, and that you will look forward to being with us next week. So we continue on our journey of growth and discovery with confidence and courage and clarity. Thank you for being with us today. As always, I treasure that you are here. Have a great week.
Joyce Buford returns next week at this same time for another edition of Second Wind. Through the Joyce Buford Empowerment System, women are receiving support during their transition and are able to reclaim their true purpose and strength. They receive the tools they need to map out new lives. You can find out more about her coaching services at